Hello and welcome, I'm Pheasant, and today I'm going to be doing a difficulty 0 days run aimed at beginners. Typically when I play days and recording a video, I actually fire it up first and look at the days that never were for sometimes quite a long time, because that is the kind of the gist of the puzzle often. So I'm actually not going to do that this time. I'm going to be going through it live. I'm not going to explain the rules. There's other videos that do that, so I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And this is, of course, far too quick to see, but I am seeing defend powers there, which is cool. In solo, we do get an extra time. It doesn't really matter which one you take. So, I guess we could look at the board as well, briefly. So, we do have absolute stasis in our kit. So when we're thinking about the board, we're often thinking about sacred site adjacency. Okay, and we do have an opening explore in with our blighted lands. So this is a relatively high priority explore, but really it's the days that never were that really tell you everything. Now, there's lots of different ways you can play this spirit. However, a really relatively straightforward way you can do it is to just do Dahan stuff. And we've actually been blessed with two different Dahan defends here. We didn't get a Dahan major, but this should actually be plenty, because we can actually really lean into Blur's build then Ravage to kind of just do all sorts of shenanigans. So, interesting. And then when we're thinking about a finisher, we've got, I mean, the finishes like this, potentially we can go for kind of stacking invaders in one land and then just kind of smashing them all. That's a possible strategy. We've got a little bit of fast damage. You know, it's good to think about how you might finish a close game. This is a difficulty 0. It shouldn't be a close game. Famous last words. Typically in the early game, I like to just build up my power. In difficulty 0, you probably don't even need to do that, but I am probably still going to do that. Because I think that the spirit, while you can kind of eke out a win really early, at difficulty 0, I think it's better to kind of get used to powering up and then kind of doing your business. We also have the hilarious gift of Twin Days, which will enable all sorts of shenanigans, and it's on element with the Sun Moon, which is a big consideration. We have lots of useful on element cards in our days, in fact, plenty of them. We don't have a perfect element card, and what I mean by that is Sun, Moon, Air. We don't seem to have one of those unless it's there and I've not seen it. But we've got a lot of two elements, which is pretty amazing. And I'm seeing there's a few ways we can go with Dahan and counterattacks, because we have the incredible Blur for creating new Dahan. Setting up counterattacks because this push, or even creating ravages when it suits us. So that actually can be enough to win, especially potentially at this difficulty. We've also just got kind of stacking high and finishing with forest. That's a bit of pushing, but we don't really have anything here that pushes. And we've also got the option of kind of womboing out with just generating vast amounts of fear. We do have Gift of Twin Days, and we do have this, which is 3 fast fear potentially. So if we are repeating that over and over, we of course have our own kind of toolkit for mass repeating stuff. We also have the ability of making our slow stuff fast. So this could be, we could be doing this fast, which could be quite clutch, though this has very uncooperative elements in terms of making things fast. Which is the 3 moon, 1 air. So defend cards, we have defend cards. We have so many defend cards. So part of me is thinking about leaning really heavily into that and just drafting both of the defend cards that we have in our days that never were. Because that kind of almost feels too good to be true. Maybe it's not true. Maybe I've just imagined all of this. Food for thought. Have I imagined all of this? I also realise we have a rare opportunity for Bloodrack Plague to shine, given that the 2 defense that this will grant actually will do something in these 2 opening um, build Ravages over the course of 2 turns, but I think that's ridiculous, and we shouldn't be thinking about that. I mean, a good typical strategy is to kind of just pick a minor power here that actually influences the board. I suppose this influences the board. God, and this is Sun Moon as well, which is really useful. We could turn one just clean up, so we'd need to make a sacred site for the targeting, but that's fine. And we could just grab one of these defend powers. See, here we've already got the counterattack, so we could we just defend and that's kind of sorted. Okay, let's build towards that. Now, there's so many different ways this goes that I might well do multiple videos like this because it all depends on the opening. I think I'll just take this. It's got slightly better elements in case I change my mind, and we will move over. Oh, I've already made a mistake there because I was talking about doing this and then I didn't do it. Why? Hey, I've got an idea, right? Why not get the scattiest Spirit Island content and get them to explain this really complicated spirit? How about that? How about that? What a great idea. Well, thanks. Thanks. I thought of it myself. So really, none of these things actually do anything to the board. So we'll be resisting the urge to do anything here. And I typically just want to gain as much time as possible, but it's worth getting this pip here just to get the extra energy. And kind of go down these tracks. It is tempting to kind of maybe blur this turn just to get some Dahan, but really, this is your only start card with all your elements. So you only really want to just play this if you know you can reclaim it. And what I mean by that is if off slip the flow of time, you've got 2 sun, 2 moon. I think only at that point would you just kind of play it for the sake of it. This is a linchpin card because of those perfect elements. So I think this turn, we're not playing anything. Not a single thing. I will be playing with events because I didn't turn them off. Yes. Okay, so we're going to be able to demonstrate the kind of defending thing that we can do. Can we demonstrate the ornate defending thing that we can do? Not really. What I'm talking about is setting up defend in a land and then blur the Arc of Years, so creating extra Ravages. But in this case, I think we just set up 2 defends. So we want to be grabbing the other defend from In Our Days That Never Were. That'll be this sap here. And we do have a presence move. And really, since the removal of Tipping Point, which is the blight card that removes 3 presence when the island becomes unhealthy, you don't really need more than 3 presence, I would say. And I like the ability to plan my life, which is why I'm a very Sun-dominated player. The other crucial thing about Sun is it makes it easy to get this really critical 3rd Sun for the 3 Sun, 2 air, play an extra card thing. For me, getting these bits here, that's the critical moment, and the Sun turn just makes that bit easier. It allows you to play a bit more off element. Okay, so I probably should be considering everything. So ideally we'd be playing 3 card plays here, and I think we can do that. Now, you wouldn't be able to do this if you were in if you were playing with teammates, because we've had an extra presence. An extra time at the start. So getting to 3 plays this early on a Sun turn would mean you'd have to sacrifice this extra energy growth on this track. And I think this is actually really helpful. But on the other hand, in multi-spirit, this is a great spirit because you can just power up your teammates, especially when they've got lots of cards in their discard pile. Okay, so we need a sacred site for our defend. So I need to make sure and that's purely because this card here has that requirement. So I just need to make sure when I move a presence, I don't remove a sacred site. And I need presence here for targeting, so I think I'm just going to do a pretend move. I'm not going to move anything at all. So the 3 plays we've got are these. Now, you'll notice that our powers have come up, and we've got the reclaim here. Now, it might actually be better to try and do some shenanigans here, but with using slip the flow of time. For example, to get repeats. But I actually think I'm pretty happy with this turn, because it means what we can do is we can be grabbing... Oh, I've just realised that this Dahan push is a bit messier than anticipated, because there's an explorer in there now. But I think it's still fine. It's still fine. We'll still get a counterattack on a town, and we'll steal an extra fear as well. See, something that's interesting is we can slip, and if we grab sap, this is totally off element for us. It's water, animal. So if we use slip to reclaim this, we still have all of our slip. The issue we have if we grab one of these two is we lose the elements we need to reclaim it. So what we could do is we could slip, grab sap again, and then grab either of these. And that's pretty tempting. That's pretty interesting. Yeah, this explorer here is a bit unfortunate. It slightly ruins our plans, because I was hoping to push in for counterattack here. But if I was to blur in here now, the invaders would build a town and kill this Dahan, which would be pretty unfortunate. So maybe we don't do that. But what we can do is we can do some other kinds of shenanigans. So we'll do some other kinds of shenanigans, because what we could do is we can set up for a messy counter in here by defending this land and then pushing into here. So I'm going to defend 3 in here. That's just a standard 3 damage ravage, 3 defend. Probably it'll be okay. And then if I put a 5 defend in here, I can actually just do this. Oh no, they've ravaged. How terrible. And given that there is a build here this turn, I'm actually pretty heavily interested in actually clearing this land. And actually, I think I'm going to do a little bit more milking here. So, I'm on the counterattack. I'm going to just kill the explorer and damage the town. Okay, now we've got another turn. I'm not going to push it, because I am... So I'm going to not push, and I'm going to actually spend a time to repeat. Now, spending a time to repeat in the early game is a bit silly, but I like this because it clears this future build. So I'm going to spend the time to repeat. And when you're putting stuff back on your tracks, generally it's better to kind of put them where they cost you least. Like every turn, we're guaranteed to be gaining at least 1 time. So putting it there doesn't really affect anything. So there you go. We've built a city, and so we've just kind of milked some extra fear out of the situation, and then we get a push here into a messy counter. Now, the messy counter is not so ideal. If I wanted to... Oh, no, I don't have the elements to repeat sap. So we've kind of prevented this build, essentially. We've set up a messy counter here, and we've got a good kind of counter there. Now, we do have slip, and we've not used it at all. So if you've not used slip at all, you may as well use it. No reason not to. And now I'm just thinking... If I grab sap and one of these two for next turn, well, that would be marvellous. Next turn, we've got a sand... We'll have a sand ravage. So sap actually just takes care of that. The question is, do I want to grab even more of my defend cards? And I think the answer is probably... no. So I'm going to just grab sap back. And you notice I can do it again. So... grabbing blur again is pretty tempting, because blur means I'm setting up the counterattack on this future turn, and that is really powerful. So yeah, I think I will repeat it. So this next repeat will, again, this will just cost an energy, and you'll notice that I lost my ability to look at the event deck. I would say that's a nice bonus rather than being absolutely essential. Yeah. Okay, so we've got to replace an explorer with a town. So I think we'll replace this explorer that's about to die in the counterattack. And yeah, that's fine. That's fine. And so that strife does nothing. So here we did get lucky off the deck. And as this spirit, we often don't have much presence on the board. So that was pretty lucky. It's going down to 2 is a little bit low, and that would push us into using more moon turns. But given that we had such nice Dahan stuff going on, kind of felt a little silly to not do it. Okay, here we can actually set up a defend this turn with sap and blur, and we can even also set up a future defend for in here. So I'm thinking next turn I will use my air turn to just get everything back, probably, because I don't want to. I want to be towards the end of the track, and I want to keep a nice reserve of time. And I also, at this point, could be thinking about a major. But the power of this is one of the ways to win in the early game, even at somewhat higher difficulty than zero. If you can just do defending, do blurring, you can have a good time. It's also tempting to actually, it's tempting to just kind of go off a little bit. What I mean by that is that this is in our bin, so we can grab it very easily. And I could kind of set up for clearing this build early. Is that necessary? Well, is any of this necessary? Is there anything necessary about this spirit? Not really. We also have Gift of Twin Days, which is ludicrous, and that's just sat there for us to grab whenever we want. Very interesting. Oh, well. What's the nicest way to finish this? Sap. Repeat sap. So we could maybe go sap, sap. And we can kind of clear out this build. It would be nice to set up this counterattack as well. That would be nice. Oh, the trouble with the spirit is there are so many things you can be potentially doing. We could be setting up defending here and trying to put Dahan in there with something like promises of protection, and then doing blur so that they build their city, they attack, we counterattack, we kill their city and explorer, they do it again, and then we clear. You know, it's that's pretty interesting because it means that the inland is totally empty. We could just let this land go, which is a good thing for beginning players to learn, is that letting a land go can just really give the advantage to kind of clean up in other areas. So for example, if we get rid of this town here, that means that an explorer in sand or wet in this sand, this wetland, we just won't even have to think about that anymore. Is it a good idea? Is it a good idea? Maybe. Is it what I'm doing? Yes. There will be better ways to play all of this, and Gift is absolutely unhinged. But this is what I'm doing. For the sake of this entry-level video, we do have a presence move here. It's a little bit concerning to have this few presence, but there's a concern that I just tend to ignore. So I think I'll just leave this here with these two Dahan. This might help for events, so we'll do a pretend move again. So we are currently here. So yeah, we'll get to 3 plays, and then I think I'm just going to grab energy. One thing to remember is if you're going in potential air turn, make sure that you actually have spent some time, because on air, when you reclaim, you gain time, but you don't gain anything else. If you go into a sun turn with everything, you just gain loads of energy, which is great. It gives you all sorts of flexibility. But that's not the case if you... Sorry, my brain just stopped there. Stopped abruptly mid-thought. Okay, so we could do this in the most primitive of ways. See here, if I play these cards directly, we don't get any slip the flow of time at all. I feel like this spirit is at its strongest when you're kind of playing your discarded cards rather than playing from hand. So I might try and do this in a way that's a little bit better. So we don't really have a decent stasis option. We can only stasis these lands, and that doesn't really do anything. I suppose we could prevent this ravage. Yeah, right, fine. Fine. We could do that. You'll see here we've just got the bottom tier, which is okay. But again, it's that thing of like, well, now I may as well just use my 3 start cards. And this is the, a good shortcut. If you can play those 3, you can actually have a pretty decent turn. This is kind of the setup for a decent turn. The trouble is that my planned turn, which was to kind of milk this inland mountain, is requires 3 different cards that aren't in play now, which basically means I need to slip the flow of time 3 times, which will cost me 3 time, which is quite a lot to achieve not that much, really. I mean, it does achieve something, and it probably means the game is won, but, does that matter? So, for that reason, I think I'm not going to do this. I think that's just... but I think maybe... It's always a shame, though, not to have Blur in your hand. So I think maybe what I'll do is I'll plan to slip once, and I think I'll use past returns to get the reclaim. And Promise of Protection just happens to have a sun on it, but we're short on air. Oh, so yeah, this is why this is the cheat code. This is the easy way of doing it. You just play these 3, you do what you want, you live your life. Yeah, I think we'll do that. We'll prevent this blight from going down. So we'll use this straight away. So that's now just doesn't exist. Marvelous. And we will slip the flow of time. So we get the free reclaim, and the trouble is if you reclaim any of these start cards, we lose the ability to do slip the flow of time. So this is the key thing. This is why you like getting things out of the bin, or helping other spirits who stuff's in the bin. This is the way. Okay, so we have done that. This is the one of the cards we want. So we will grab that, and we will target it. So the air here is given the extra range on sap. So we've done that. Why am I doing this overly convoluted thing? Okay, so now to do it again is going to cost us a single time. So we'll put it here. That still means that on an air turn we can gain these 2 time and be back up to 3 players. We can still have a good turn, especially with all this cheap Dahan shenanigans we're doing. We're being offered the reclaim, but we could actually reclaim sap, and it doesn't interfere with our elements, so I'm going to do that because there's no reason not to. And I'm going to play Promises of Protection. So now I am going to gather 2 Dahan into there. I'm going to gather this Lone Dahan and this Dahan, and that's just because there's an event that targets Lone Dahan next to cities, and this one is less likely to be near a city. Okay, so now we've got the setup for shenanigans. So we're going to blur in here. Okay, they're going to build a city, and now we just do this in such a way as to milk the fear generation. So we want them to build cities twice, and so we don't want to push any of these this time, and we will repeat because we're milking. So remember, we want to leave these 2 like this, and we'll go here. And so now they clear that land. Okay, great. We have cleared our inland, and now we can push. And if you are in a position like this where there's no clear place, pushing with Blight is good. And I know that there's already 2 in there. But it doesn't matter. You notice I've not even considered using past returns again. I mean, this actually isn't a bad time to do it. We could put wetlands on top. Which literally would not explore here because this land basically doesn't exist, and this is not adjacent to buildings. However, it does cost a time and an energy, and we've spent a lot of time and we don't have that much energy, so I'm not going to use that. And we're not going to use this 3rd slip. The 3rd slip is only really good if you're literally finishing out the game. So we'll stop at that, I think. Okay. So towns, yeah, this doesn't matter. Yeah, didn't get that benefit. What a shame. We get to remove that explorer. Okay. Yeah, the board is pretty much empty. Okay, and so we got the Wetland Explorer anyway. So that's fine. And we do get to do this. So this one we're just getting information. I almost always want to look at the event deck. Because with this spirit you can get absolutely wrecked by the event deck. And we like, not that we have the option to get rid of this, but this is one I typically keep. Because it doesn't destroy my presence. I just don't have that much presence as this spirit. And you just never will because you're gaining time rather than placing stuff. Okay, so we now need to just finish this off. I mean, we may as well do what we've been doing. We could, of course, try and grab a major to do it, but we don't need to. So I think we will have an air turn. We've got enough energy banked, but we just grab this time here. And I mean, yeah, we don't even. Oh yeah, there aren't actually any Dahan in there just yet, so we will have to set this up a little bit. We might not actually be able to just finish it. Oh, we've got promises. Okay, yeah, it's fine. So again, the meathead way of playing this: we blur, we stasis, we pass. That gets us slip. Okay, we don't get the faster slow, but we don't need it. And typically, if you just play another moon card, there you go, you've got it. So that's our basic sub, and it does have our blur in. All we need to do is play these two as well, and we've got 6 time. Okay, so we do have stasis. We're not doing that. So the first thing we'll do is we'll slip, and we won't reclaim anything, because remember, we don't want to lose our elements. So we don't reclaim anything, and we grab one of the 2 cards that we're using to finish this. And so now I'm going to use it. I'm going to grab these 2. Okay, and now we can slip again. And remember, obviously this game's over, but you generally adding to the one that you can easily clear. And I can't reclaim these, but let's imagine there's a future turn. I could grab this and use it again on a future turn. Or even this turn if I wanted, but I don't want. Okay, and then we've got sap. So in we go. And we can blur now. And so, yeah, and that works very neatly. The 5 defend is perfect for this. We do take a damage as the Dahan, but that's fine, and we'll repeat and clear. So I kind of, well, that should be the end, surely. Okay, I kind of stumbled into a kind of this is one of the ways that you can win as Daze. Notice no major powers, nothing. So this has kind of been worked out quite well in terms of showing one of the ways Daze can win. And just some of the raw basics of using your innate in a simple way. You can obviously calculate every turn out to some degree of precision, but you actually don't really need to with the spirit if you're, I guess, prepared to play it somewhat suboptimally. But the reality is most of us, when we're playing this game, are playing it somewhat suboptimally, and we could just accept that and enjoy ourselves. Anyway, if you like the video, please subscribe if you're not already. Like it as well, why not? And I think this was fun to make. I probably will make some more. And it all depends on what days comes up. So until next time, keep it spiritual.